Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes with an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the Dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With a new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
I'm Chris Wynn, and welcome to How We're the Podcast. And once again, we have an opportunity to have a mazy dribble down memory lane today. Because for those who listen to our weekly On This Week podcast, it comes out every Monday, or reads our daily On This Day article on the Roker Report website, or for anybody who's got Roker Report's SAFC 365, that was came out a couple of years ago, you will know that we love a little bit of nostalgia, and we have a treat for you today on that front, because we're talking about a book that is close to being released called Got Sunderland, the Little Book of Mackem Memories, which I've been very lucky to have a sneak preview of, and it takes you to a place where you can almost smell that pack of Pro Set cards or Panini stickers opening, which is a beautiful thing. Because today, to talk all about the book, we are privileged to be speaking to the author, Bill Hern. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, well, brilliant. I mean, like I think most listeners know this is right up my street. But how's it going?
It's going great. The book is, as you say, very, very nostalgic, and I've suddenly got a lot of nostalgia to write about. I mean, what I'm really proud of is that the publisher Conquer Editions intend doing this sort of book for many, many league clubs. And so far they've only done one, and that was Manchester United. So to pick Sunderland as the second one, I think just shows how big the club is at the moment. Because I'm sure a year or two ago, we wouldn't have been the second choice for a book of this nature. And of course, like yourself, Chris, I'm a bit of a hoarder. So I've got lots and lots of mementos and things from the past that have rekindled memories and have allowed me to sort of expand with a few words about the various mementos.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to it, but Sunderland were actually the first with a couple of things which we'll come on to in the book. But yeah, I mean, there's a feel-good factor about Sunderland at the minute, isn't it? Which I suppose helps the book because the club are doing so well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure that's what prompted them to select Sunderland for the second book of its nature. I'm sure others will follow. But at the moment, I'm feeling very proud about the club, really, that, our history is thought important enough to warrant the second book.
Yeah. It's funny because, I'm based in Sheffield, we were talking about before we come on. But it's funny now, isn't it, where, you get into conversations with people and me being me, the conversation naturally turns onto football. And you mentioned you're a Sunderland fan now and people's eyes light up almost and they go, oh, wow. Doing brilliant at the moment. It's just a good feeling, isn't it?
I mean, the other thing is people are really happy for us as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
We're a popular club as well. I mean, apart from in one or two places, but everybody seems really pleased that we seem to have turned the corner. I mean, we've been here before. I don't want to get too carried away, but I mean, I'm looking forward to going to the match now.
Yeah.
Before, I would look for excuses. I live in Leeds, and, if it was snowing or cold or whatever, and it was on the telly, I'd probably not go. But now nothing would stop me. Wild horses wouldn't stop me. It's
Mm.
brilliant, and we've got such quality in the team, and I'm trying very, very hard to keep this discussion year
Yeah, yeah,
2000.
yeah.
But hey, we're just doing so well, it's impossible not to talk about it.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, in the past, I've even stayed in the pub out of the rain and not bothered going to the game. It's been that bad. But look, before we get into the book itself, let's talk a bit about you and your love for Sunderland, which we've already touched on. I mean, you mentioned in the introduction to the book that you started following the lads in the early 1960s. But you were born in the Midlands, so was your love for Sunderland passed down in the same way as it is for most of us?
Well, I think the Midlands reference is probably the publishers left text in just to fill a space. I was born in Sunderland, believe
Ah,
me.
right. Okay.
Born in Southwick, lived in Millfield most of my life. Moved down to London, early 30s, moved back up to Leeds a few years later. Never stopped having a season ticket or a season access card, as I believe it's now called. Um, so yes, I've never son and born and bred, supported them through thick and thin, like most people in the crowd.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm a Mackem.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, since the book's not released yet, you'll have to get on to them about that and make sure, make sure that's all sorted. Because the other thing you mentioned in the book, you said, like I said, early '60s, and you mentioned your first game was Good Friday, 1965, I think. And I, d-
Right.
I don't know whether if that's right. I don't know whether I've got it right, but is that we maybe got beat off Wolves 2-1? Was that the game?
We did, but, going along to my first game, there was a crowd, I think it was just short of 40,000, and we scored in the first minute.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, "This is fantastic supporting Sunderland." We score in the first minute when we're gonna score the next one, and of course, 90 minutes later, I'm on my way home with my dad, we got beat 2-1, to a Wolves side that was actually relegated, virtually relegated on that day, but, not quite mathematically. That came a few days later. So my first experience was initially very, very good, then disappointing, and it kind of sums up what's gone on for the next 60 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my first game was we beat Manchester United 2-1, which made me think when I was young that Sunderland were fantastic and would win every game. So I had to get beaten out of that very quickly. But
Was that the Gary Bennett winner?
that
Oh,
was my
yeah.
first game. I've got a little frame picture just out of shot there. just
'Cause what I realise now is that there are people in their 30s who never went to Roker Park,
uh,
and, 'cause I mean, without sort of getting too far off the subject, I mentioned the halftime scoreboard to somebody who I suspect is in their 30s, and even they looked blank and said, "What's a halftime scoreboard?"
mm,
So, I mean, I am a historian, believe it or not, and there is a danger that we're gonna lose all these things if we don't write about them. Because really, if you look at a halftime scoreboard, it's so ridiculous, nobody would believe you. The man climbed up some ladders and put these sort of Scrabble figures into a big scoreboard, and if you didn't have the program, you didn't know to which match he was referring. I mean, you couldn't make up something as silly as that.
yeah. That's it. And, well, yeah, I was gonna ask actually, but because I only had 7 or 8, years really at Roker Park, which, in terms of the history of it wasn't much, and I didn't see it at its pomp, which I wish it had. But back then, was there because people talk about this hierarchy, where did you start off when you first went to Roker Park? Because people say when you first went, you had to go here, and then you kind of moved around the ground.
And anybody sort of directed me, but yeah, that's exactly how it happened. Started in the Fulwell end, and I remember a game against Peterborough where we won 7-1. And again, it was one of those I think we scored 3 very, very early on, and there was straw all around the pitch as there was in those days, and after every goal, I'm throwing the straw up in the air, and after the 3rd goal, this bloke tapped me on the back, and I turned around, he was covered in straw and said, "Will you stop doing that?" And, so yeah, I started at the Fulwell end, then went up to the Roker end, ended up in the paddock, and then, of course, seats, clock stand, so that's
Mm,
probably a fairly typical journey around the world around the ground for fans in those days.
yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about those early '60s, so because you grew up, in an era where we've got Brian Clough, Johnny Crossan, Nicky Sharkey. So who were your heroes growing up?
Well, it's difficult to look past Charlie Hurley.
Mm,
I mean, just everything about him, not just his footballing ability. He was just a colossus, really. Everybody was just in awe of him. There was a player, Jimmy McNabb, who's much less known, but his mother-in-law had a fruit and veg store
mm.
in Hilton Road near where I lived. So Jimmy McNabb was a little bit of a hero, more so when I gave him the autograph book and he took it to Roker Park and got everybody to sign it.
Well,
Sadly, I had no idea where that autograph
oh
book is
no,
now, but yeah, I treasured that for a while.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so I would go for Charlie Hurley. Jim Baxter, I would say, was a good player. I know a lot of people say he was past it when he came to Sunderland, but he was still very, very good. In fact, in the book, I do choose my best ever 11,
yes.
and I'm sure, well, apart from Monty, I can't imagine many people wouldn't choose Monty, but the rest could be very debatable. We've had some good players.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to maybe touch on that before we finished up, but I mean, obviously, as you said, early '60s. That's going into the '73 kind of cup win. And in the introduction and the book itself, you write about your brilliant memories of getting the midnight train down to London with handfuls of pies and chicken legs and things. And you had a last minute scare with your ticket as well.
Yeah, I um, I had I had 2 tickets. I was very, very lucky, and I gave one to a friend and I kept the other one. But what I realised I'd done is I'd kept the one that was in an area of the ground different to the 3 people I'd gone with. So they all went through the turnstile. I got to the front and the turnstile operator said, "Well, that's not for this area, son." And I said, "But my mates have got in and, what am I gonna do?" And I didn't cry, but, almost. He let me in because in those days it was all it was standing where we were, and it didn't really make too much difference that one young lad was in the wrong part of the ground. Of course, with all seaters, that I would have had to, go and sit in the allocated seat, but it worked out okay, and it was, well, best day of my life, I would say so.
Well, I mean, it's incredible, really, when you think about it, because it's almost become a bigger thing if you were there the longer it's gone on, because that was the last time we won anything.
Yeah, I think the other thing is the FA Cup final was a much, much bigger thing in 1973, and I was just the right age. I was 16, so it was perfect, really.
Mm.
Um, I don't think it would be the same. I don't think it could be repeated, even if we win it this year. I don't think it can be quite the same. I mean, the playoff final, last minute winner, that was pretty special. But I'd still have the 73 final ahead of that. I wouldn't have swapped that for the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how was that? Because, I've spoken to a few people who were there, but what after that final whistle went, and because, I mean, people my age, I'm in my 40s, and even I can't imagine Sunderland being at Wembley and lifting one of the major trophies. But was there an air of disbelief, or did people go, actually, no, we're a bloody good side and we deserve that, and it's just a case of celebrating it?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't favourites, but when you read some of the newspapers on the morning of the match, a lot of the commentators say they think it's going to be a close game. I think 1 or 2 went for Sunderland, so we weren't outrageous sort of underdogs. I was confident we'd win, and when you look back at that team, a lot of them went on to be, not just international players, but top class international players. Dave Watson, for example, I mean, one of the best centre halves ever. Personally, I think Dennis Stewart was a great player, but he went to the States at his peak, so got
Mm,
kind of forgotten about. But I think Dennis Stewart was a great player. Richie Pitt, I think, if he'd not got injured, would have gone on to play for England. And I think, looking further ahead, if he'd not been injured, he would have stayed at Sunderland. We probably would have got promoted the season after the cup win, and history would have been completely different.
mm.
But it was a very, very good side, very, very good players. Unlike 1992, when I think it was a bunch of journeyman, lesser players, really. There were no stars in the 92 side. They did well to get to Wembley, but 73, I think we genuinely thought we had a chance,
Yeah.
and we certainly played well. We weren't hanging on the way people would have you believe now. It was nerve-wracking beyond belief, but we I think we did deserve to win. There's little doubt about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think from memory, I think from the pundits, there was only, I think Bobby Charlton basically tipped us, didn't he? Out of the pundits. I think everyone else
Yeah.
said Leeds would win.
Yeah. Well, Jack Charlton said he'd retire if Leeds didn't win, and he did. He did retire.
Yeah, and I think Brian Clough was, I think that was one of the few times he was fancying Leeds just because it was either, did he back Don Revie or was it Bob Stokoe because he didn't like either of them?
Yeah, yeah. And Soto didn't like Ravy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
big happy family.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't get together for a drink afterwards. But look, let's get into the book. And I attempted a little bit earlier, but I'll let you kind of give our listeners a description of the book in your words.
Well, it's nostalgia, pure nostalgia. It's mainly about supporting Sunderland in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some of it is generic. Some of it is about stickers and football strips and things like that. But we look at some of the oddities that have disappeared. I mentioned the halftime scoreboard.
Mm.
I don't know if it was in your time, but there used to be a spot the face competition in
Yeah, in the
the
program.
program.
Yeah, yeah,
There used to be a golden goal ticket. You bought a little ticket and you peeled it open, and it would have the time of well, the time of the
mm,
first goal if you were lucky. And you could win £30 if your ticket was the same time as the first or the last goal. Um, TV gantries,
yeah,
nobody would know what one was now. We've got drones flying all over the place. We've got cameras. Everybody can be filmed. So we talk about TV gantries, things that are in danger of being lost to history. So there's that historical angle, but there's also just the entertainment and the fun angle. Like I say, who could make up halftime scoreboards?
yeah.
It's just
Well,
incredible. Um, yeah, and we also had a couple of times when we protested, when we held up red cards. Was that in your time?
yeah, yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
and we're so lovely, aren't we, Sunderland fans? I mean, what we did was raise the red card and be silent for 1 minute,
Yeah,
and then put the cards back in our pocket and got on with the game. Whereas I think a lot of clubs would make, and not too far from Sunderland, would make a lot of fuss. The bed sheets would be getting
yeah.
painted and all sorts of protests.
Coffins and all sorts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So so
yeah.
yeah, it's days long gone. Um, a lot of people will feel nostalgic about it. A lot of people like yourself won't remember some of it, but hopefully will find it interesting and mildly amusing. It's a light-hearted book.
Well, the thing is,
Uh,
I think from my generation, like you said, the ones I can't remember, I got from my dad. My dad told me a lot about the ones I can't remember, and then the other half I can. So it's got that
yeah,
perfect mix.
yeah. I mean, when we look at testimonials, you don't see testimonials anymore, but it used to be a classic. Of the 63-64 promotion winning side, 7 of the 11 were with us for more than 10 years. I mean, that's unthinkable now at any sort of level of football. So there were lots of testimonials. My first biggish game was Stan Anderson's testimonial in '64, I would think. Um, and it's amazing how the memory plays tricks. I could have sworn Stan Anderson's 11 beat All-Stars 11. In fact, no, I think Stan played for the All-Stars. All-Stars against Sunderland. I thought the score was 7-6, but when I went back and checked, it was 3-1 to Sunderland. So it also helps to, make sure you get your facts right. And
It's funny, I think we talked about that the other week on one of our On This Week episodes, because, of course, a former Sunderland player, Jackie Milburn, played for the International 11.
yeah, yeah. And Bobby Mitchell as well, yeah. They were 39, but,
Yeah. Bobby Robson in that team as well. But
yeah,
I was going to mention about the gantry. I always remember in when Sunderland were in the first division, right at the beginning of the 1990s under Dennis Smith. We had a game, and I think it was our only live game that season at Roker Park, but it was against Arsenal, and it was towards the end of the season. It was kind of it was our last home game of the season, and it was live on the match on the Sunday. And the camera went up to Jimmy Greaves and Brian Moore on top of the clock stand, and basically the rain was coming in, the wind was howling, and they were covered up in blankets and
Yeah.
all sorts, and they had to climb up those vertical ladders to get to the clock stand on the
Well,
roof to start
those were
with.
the days.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Good memories. But
it kind
I
of
was,
sums up Roker Park, doesn't it? How it deteriorated.
yeah,
Because we do cover the move from the
yeah,
old ground to the new ground. And the two final games at Roker Park, the league game against Everton and the friendly against Liverpool, which replicated the first game ever played at Roker Park.
yeah.
And then we watched the new ground being gradually built, and status quo landing by helicopter, and the Red Devils bringing the ball down. So we do cross that sort of stage. Because Roker Park was dropping to bits, really, wasn't it, towards the end, sadly.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to think when you look back that actually there was a lot of opposition to moving, wasn't there?
There was an awful lot of opposition, both in terms of people wanted to stay at Roker Park, and then when it was announced we were moving to the current site, the local MP was up in arms,
Mm.
local residents were up in arms, and John Hall at Newcastle even stuck his nose in and tried to stop the move. Um, Went ahead, and I think Bob Murray's got to take a lot of credit for that, but we couldn't win because when he announced the name of the ground, there was an uproar. Everybody thought the Stadium of Light was a stupid name. I
Yeah.
was fine with it, to be honest, but, the poor bloke couldn't win really, and I think people now quite like the Stadium of Light. Some lousy names now, isn't there? I think Everton and the Hill Dickinson Stadium or something like that. Give me the Stadium of Light any day.
Well, that's it. I think the big worry that we were going to be sponsored, but everyone wanted. What I think it was the Weymouth Stadium. Everyone wanted at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, went different directions. So this isn't your first book, of course, but how long was this in the making? I mean, because we were just talking before we recorded. Did someone approach you, or did you have the initial idea?
Yeah, well, I think that's what nice is that Conker approached me. So Conker chose Sunderland, which I think is great, and then they chose me because they knew me from a previous book that I'd co-written about football's black pioneers. That was about the first black player to play for each of the 92 league clubs, and of course we had Rolly Gregoire, and we were talking about getting facts wrong. There was a debate about Rolly on the internet a little while back, and some of the memories were incredible that didn't happen. Just amazing. I mean, one guy said, "I was there for Rolly's debut. He came on as sub. The first time he touched the ball, he was brilliant, and after that, he was rubbish. He didn't come on as sub. He started the game. He played 90 minutes, and he got absolute plaudits after the game. Another guy had him missing a penalty. He didn't even take a penalty." So, yeah, we've got to be careful that our memories don't play too many tricks.
Yeah, no, my memory. I have to double check everything. But yeah, in terms of the book, like I said, I mean, I don't know if this is what you kind of meant to start the book with, but it does seem to go back to, and I talked about my dad telling me about his early collector's items, which were the chewing gum cards or the cigarette cards. But do you think that was kind of the earliest form of football collector's items?
Well, I suppose apart from programs, um, I guess people probably save tickets in those days as well, which is something that with season access cards we won't be able to. But yeah, I think it was kind of post 1966 World Cup.
Mm.
I think when somebody got the idea that stickers and cards would be a lucrative business. I remember the early ones in the sort of the wrappers with the chewing gum inside. And it's funny how I don't know about you, but I remember 2 or 3 really vividly. I remember one of a guy called Mike O'Grady, who was I can picture him now, black hair, blue and white stripes of Huddersfield, and he actually played in the first game I saw Sunderland win. We beat Leeds 2-0 in 1965. So he was in the team. I now live in the same village as him, and he's a friend, but he has no memory of that game whatsoever. And I know we're moving off the subject, but the number of footballers that I've interviewed whose memory is absolutely terrible. Very few could remember their debut. Chris Kamara, for example, had no idea he was the first black player to play for Swindon. Viv Anderson thought he was the first black player to score for England. He certainly was the first black player to play for them. But when I interviewed him, he says, Bill, I think I was the first one to score as well. And I knew fine well he wasn't. But I wanted to be polite. I said, no, I don't think you were. I don't think you were, Viv. He says, no, I think. And he got his phone and he got the video up and he said, look, it was against them called Yugoslavia. That's how long ago it was. So I said, well, look, Viv, I'll go away and check. So I went away and I knew that the answer's Luther Blissett, by the way.
Yeah.
And I rang up. I says, Viv, you thought your goal against Yugoslavia was the first goal a black person had ever scored for England. Yeah. You could tell he was anticipating I was going to confirm it. I says, it wasn't even the first goal Viv Anderson scored for England. He'd scored for Turkey before he'd even scored against Yugoslavia. So the point I'm making, which has nothing to do with the book, is footballers have poor memories. And again, if we don't write it down, people get the facts wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just mentioned that the World Cup win in 1966, and actually it does come across in the book where you actually say that there seemed to be this explosion of just interest about football and people spending their money on various kind of football merchandise. And you mentioned that the stickers and the FKS stickers, and I think and the Airfix footballers. But was that World Cup win a huge driver in terms of football kind of moving on and getting kids getting that hook into more kids?
I think so. I mean, certainly it was only after that cards and collectibles took off. I think they were introduced in America before, before soccer in England. So I think the Americans probably set things up with basketball, American football, and so on. So it wouldn't just be the World Cup. But yeah, I think it probably was the 1966, and of course, it's a missed opportunity because sticker books for '66 would have been brilliant. The World Cup Willie and the 16 teams. I mean, oddly enough, we the Russian team who played in the Northeast group, they stayed at Sunderland Polytechnic. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, I used to go there on a night and swap badges with them, and I thought. I imagined that couldn't have happened. You couldn't have had an international football team staying at Sunderland Polytechnic. But I checked with Rob Mason, Sunderland's brilliant historian, and he confirmed that it was the Russian football team. So there was something there.
Well, I've actually we've interviewed Jonathan Wilson, the Sunderland supporter who writes for The Guardian and does a whole host of books. I've got a whole shelf devoted to Jonathan Wilson over there. But he actually interviewed one of the players for the Russian side, and he said it came across as genuine. That he said they absolutely loved Sunderland because they just went, they said it was actually a lovely place and they could walk freely, and they just thought it was absolutely fantastic. And people like yourself,
go to the Red House Club because they thought it was communist. The Red House Club.
might have not been far off, to be honest. But you actually move on through the 70s, and actually you state in the book the 1970s were a great time to be a youngster. And I suppose most people will probably think the time that they were young was fantastic because it's always true, I suppose. But from someone like myself who wasn't born in the 70s, I look at and read about these characters in the game, and reading through the book, there seemed to be something new every year for kids, but it seemed to be this kind of explosion of, I suppose, even on the television, of colour and characters. But it did seem to have that about it, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the sort of late 60s, 70s, a lot of big things happened. Match of the Day, for example, didn't exist until the sort of mid-60s. And then live football came along. It might only be one a week, but that was better than what used to be one a season, the FA Cup final. So there was that. I think it was for me. It was all around the FA Cup, really. The lead up to winning it, the glory afterwards. I remember we went to an obscure part of Yugoslavia in 1974, and we didn't think anybody would know where Sunderland was. But as soon as we mentioned Sunderland, it was FA Cup. So it was nice to be famous for a little while.
Yeah.
What else happened in the 70s? A lot of hooliganism. which obviously wasn't a good thing. A lot of racism, which equally wasn't good. But there's just something about it, something about the, as you say, being young and being free. I mean, we used to go to lots of away games, have great times. It's just good to be alive then, as it is now.
Finish training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
That's going to be fun!
This week, the Minnesota Vikings head west to face the Los Angeles Chargers.
They'll take that all day.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party. TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's the Vikings and the Chargers, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go through all these collectibles and all these items, but I'm not sure you mentioned it unless I missed it. What's your favourite football-related collectible or something you used to buy when you were young related to football? What was your favourite?
I would go back to the chewing gum ones. And, I can still smell it. I can still see feel the cards, It was just lovely to open them, have a look at the beautiful photograph. Is it one that you've already got? So you'd have to go and swap it with somebody. The chewing gum was okay. Never got wasted. But I can still smell it.
Well, I remember when every time my mum took me into town, she had to take me to Joseph's toy shop. And this was purely just so I could spend as long as I was allowed staring at all of the Subbuteo teams and bits and pieces for the surroundings, the stadiums, even the corner flags, the referees, anything they had, I just used to stare at and look at it all. And you mentioned, which I was chuckling at, the two types of Subbuteo fans, the ones who played the game and the ones who just built it all up and built a scene. I was definitely one of those who enjoyed building it up and just looking at it. But you didn't mention which one you were in the book.
I would have probably been the player, the one that sort of kneels on the outside left and breaks both his legs, and you get a little bit of glue to try and stick it back together. But I go so far back, the original Subbuteo was limited to red tops and blue tops, whereas a few years later, of course, you could buy any team virtually in Europe. I remember buying Bradford City because I liked their strip. So I was very much a player who sort of damaged the figures rather than kept them pristine. I do remember getting a Subbuteo game one year, getting really excited about opening it, and it was a chocolate one. The balls were made out of chocolate and so on and so on. So I was very, very disappointed. I pretend I liked it, but I wanted, like you, I wanted the real thing.
Yeah.
The cameraman and the stand and the referee. They were great.
Yeah. The other one I remember when I was young, I don't know if it goes back to before my era or not, but the Super Cup football. I don't know if you remember that, where the buttons at either end and the players used to turn around and just go up and down, and they're an absolute fortune on eBay now. But there's some of these things that kind of people still hanker after, and still it's amazing how many people keep these things, and then that people want them decades down the line.
Yeah, I've got one. I won't go and get it now, but it's incredible how bad it is. The screen where the so-called players move backwards and forwards is almost the size of a postage stamp. I mean, it really, really is terrible. But as you say, they're collector's items now, and people yearn for the olden days.
Yeah, but it's not just games, it's not just kids things, because you did invoke memories of me watching my dad put all of his tiny little crosses on the Spot the Ball, which you have a section on every week. And I'm not sure about you, Bill, but I've never met anyone who actually won Spot the Ball.
No, I haven't either. But what always gets me is, who checked them?
Yeah.
I mean, what sort of a job is that? I mean, there must have got thousands of entries, and somebody had to look at every single one.
Every week.
Yeah. I mean, it would drive you mad. So, yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how gambling is so prevalent in football, and yet, players are not allowed to go anywhere near it.
Yeah. Well, I think my dad did the same pools numbers and I think he took them off his mum. So I think he did them for, I want to say probably 50 years or something.
Yeah.
And never won a penny. I think he had a couple of £3 wins or something like that. But it was part of the tradition, weekly tradition, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my dad actually used to be a coupon collector.
Yeah.
He would go around on a Thursday night collecting the coupons from various houses. He also delivered football echoes, not individually. The big batches that he used to throw into the doorway. But the one Spot the Ball was interesting.
Yeah, and another page that put a grin on my face was the league ladders, because I used to get these every year from whether it was, and sometimes they used to do them in match and shoot. And I used to get both sets. I don't know why, but I used to put both sets up on the wall. And a few years ago, they were selling them on Amazon. I actually got my young lad league ladders. But the novelty kind of wore off pretty quickly because he couldn't understand why he'd move all of these things about when he can just pull it up on a screen. And it made me think about a lot of the things that we loved when we were young, because when you think about it, actually, there weren't many other ways of looking at the league table. So it actually served a purpose where actually now to kids, it's just effort.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think I'm at the point in the FA Cup final that when I got home on the Sunday and I got up to watch the big match and I saw Porterfield's goal, that was the first time I'd seen that goal since live at Wembley. I mean, now you'd be looking at it on your phone and so yeah, it is it is weird, and I'm sure a lot of kids will read the book and think, "Nah, you having me on? That's ridiculous. It just can't have happened." I mean, if you didn't get your football scores when they came up on the teleprinter and at 5:00, the only way you'd get them is to go and get the Football Echo within sort of 45 minutes. But having decried the sort of IT of the 60s and 70s, how on earth did they print an entire newspaper to get out within an hour of the end of the game? I mean, that just wouldn't happen now. It's unthinkable. So, we weren't all Luddites and, behind the times. There were some really, really impressive things going on.
Yeah, unbelievable. I remember running for that. But I remember going for that at 6:00 and the news agents being absolutely full of people waiting for the Sports Echo, the Football Echo to turn up. Do you think, I mean, are we just going to kind of, it's okay saying move with the times, but is it a sad thing that those traditions are lost?
Yeah, I think it is a sad thing. There are a lot of things that, we're losing. But yeah, I think it'd be ridiculous. I mean, we wouldn't buy the Football Echo, would we? That's the thing. We think, yeah, it would be great to still have it, but the newsagent we're relying on people like us to get out, go and buy it when we can sit and look at it on our phone or replay it on YouTube or whatever. So I think that the days have gone, but there are sad things like tickets at football games. It used to be lovely to get a ticket and collect it and save it. Now we've got to print it off, fold it up, and pray like mad that it works when you get to some sort of machine at the turnstile. Programs are on the way out as well. I mean, quite a few clubs don't produce paper programs anymore. I'm really glad that we do, because I think we've got a really good program But, it's, as I say, a lot of clubs just have online programs now.
Yeah.
So there'll be less things to collect, or your wife might say less clutter.
Yeah, that's it. Well, actually, but one thing that maybe is still clinging on, because before we started recording, I showed you my folders of Pro Set cards and Orbis football collections from the early 90s. And then obviously Panini took over. And I think one thing that is clinging on for kids is that collection of, especially that obviously, of course, the Panini Premier League annual sticker collection. But it's that feeling of opening that sticker pack and finding out who you've got and having that smell about it and that feeling about it. And I think that's one of the few things that's actually clinging on still.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the excitement if you've got a shiny, shiny one. There's a lot of competition though, isn't there? I mean, there's wrestlers, there's other sort of figures, heroes, Marvel characters. So there's a lot of competition. But yeah, there still is that sense of excitement of getting one that you've not got before, and getting a shiny or a special one. That's brilliant. Very expensive now, though. A lot more expensive than they were nowadays.
Yeah, and I think there was something on about how much it would actually cost you to get all of the stickers for the World Cup, and I think it ended up running to about £1,000 if you. How many sticker packs you actually had to get, but yeah, you did. You talked about football on the TV as well, and obviously, you mentioned Match of the Day, and then the first live games, and you do write in the book about tying tees, which still gives me nightmares of us getting beat at Ayresome Park far too often. But was there something different about it? You mentioned only one game a season, and then maybe once a week. Is there something about it when at the moment we can pull up a game from yesterday or the weekend, or we can watch umpteen, there's maybe 4 games live on a Sunday. Was there something about it when it wasn't on as often?
Yeah, I think so. It was really, really special. And I would make a massive effort to watch Sunderland on shoot, probably whether we won or lost. I mean, I don't watch Match of the Day when we lose. I only stay up when we win, because, as you say, I can watch it anywhere else anyway. But it's nice to hear what Alan Shearer's got to say about it when we do win.
Or not, as the case might be.
Yeah, yeah. So shoot used to be really special. It was, as I say, win or lose, I would watch shoot. It was very, very rare for Sunderland to be on the other channels because we weren't one of the bigger clubs in the sort of early 70s. So
yeah, you'll never get that episode of The Likely Lads, will you? Where they're waiting for that
fogged off.
Yeah, that they can never kind of avoid the result now. But just looking at the kind of the current setup in terms of like looking back at nostalgia, because you look at old kits in the book, and it's easy to forget actually that Sunderland were on the front line with some of those, because we were one of the first to have the diamond Umbro logo on our kit, and then of course we were the first in England to have a night kit. So Sunderland have always been at the forefront, haven't they?
Yeah, and I've got to admit, that had passed me by at the time. It was only when I was researching for this book that I realised, as you say, what a key part we played. And again, I think it's credit to the stature of Sunderland that people like Nike chose Sunderland to be I know we've got the connection with their headquarters, but to choose Sunderland to be their kind of, big selling point is absolutely amazing. Because until I did the research, I'll be absolutely honest with you, I thought shirts red and white, there are only so many ways you can do a red and white shirt. And if we do depart from the sort of thick red and white stripes, I think that I didn't like the candy strip stripe that I can imagine Ali McCoy wearing. I just thought a red and white strip was a red and white strip, but when you look at it very, very closely, there is a lot more to it than that. And we were kind of leaders in the field. I also found that I had, and I've not bought a home strip for quite a while. I've got 15 home strips and 15 away strips. I mean, our away strips, I think, have tended to be pretty good. And I know this year's is really, really popular.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a huge collection of shirts. But probably no bigger than you, Chris. It's you've got a lot.
Yeah. I've got ones going. Well, I was going to ask actually, because I've got ones going way back to the original Hummel ones. And of course, last couple of seasons, I think Dave Bruce, because I think he's a not far off a similar generation to me. I think there's good 5 or 6 years between us, and I think he's obviously clearly got into the club and went, right, I want Sunderland to be based on those Hummel kits. But is it, obviously writing this book, is it strange that actually Sunderland are in a time when they're looking back at retro things and going back 30 years to those kits to base our current strips on?
Yeah, and obviously it's a big seller as well, isn't it? I mean, the retro stuff is going really, really well. I think we sold a load last week, didn't we? Was that the Vaux top?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think I've got at least 2. But yeah, it's working. People do seem to like the retro. I know my sons do. Very, very expensive again, but yeah.
Do you think, and just in terms of, because with the club looking back and, just at the weekend, they ran out to Z cars and there was a big kind of push on that because there was the release of the new retro merchandise, tracksuits and things that have coming out based on that early 90s designs. Do you think there's more of a clamour now for the nostalgia part than there's ever been? And is that maybe a slight on where football is at the minute?
I don't know. I suppose it depends on what fans we're getting, doesn't it? I mean, I think we're in danger of losing a lot of young fans had we not gone up to the Premier. I think another season or two outside the Premier, and a lot of them would have moved across to Newcastle. Certainly the retro stuff sells well, so there is that sort of move towards nostalgia. But I don't know. I don't know that youngsters have an interest in history anymore. And that's what we're trying to get them interested in, because we will forget all these things will disappear. So it would be great to get the kids more involved in history, and if we can do that through linking it to football, then that's great. But I think it's sort of borderline whether nostalgia is making a big comeback amongst youngsters. I suppose we need to look at who's buying the retro stuff. Is it people who were around when it was original, or is it youngsters that were saying, "Well, hey, that's really, really good. I wish I'd been around then. That's fantastic. That's better than now."
Yeah.
So it's I'm not sure, but yeah, the marketing people should be able to tell us. But they do keep doing more and more and more, so you assume it works, and kids are into the old gear.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at the book, because I've seen a sneak preview, of course, but we were talking again just before we recorded. It's a beautiful looking book, with the images that you've got and the front cover of the book. I mean, it must have taken a while just to get all those images together, because some of them are absolutely stunning. Some of them I've never seen before.
Yeah. One thing I will say, it is a pocket book, because it's not a huge book. It's a lot of pages. It's 190 plus pages. A lot of graphics, a lot of really, really, impressive graphics. It's not that's not my doing. The publisher has done all of that. Most of the memorabilia is mine. I'm very much a hoarder. So the publisher came up to Leeds, where I live, and took really sharp photographs of the various stuff. So I think 90% of what's in there is mine. And yeah, I love the graphics, absolutely love them. And they will bring back memories, because you'll see a program cover and think, I've got that program somewhere, or I remember that, Matt. I was there. And they're just nice memories. The old ground, with banners, and then moving into the new ground. The photographs are wonderful. I'd like to think the words are wonderful as well, because the words are mine. But I won't claim credit for the images. They really are excellent, and they will bring back lots of nice memories.
You do. Every time you see them, you whether it's full end and you get the smell of Bovril and whatever, it's you almost feel like you kind of go back there. And I can't wait for the book to come out. But I do have to admit that it gave a shiver down my spine thinking about the bother I got into ringing Club Call, by the way, because there was a section
Yeah.
did have nightmares about that. But just when's the book released? When can people start buying it? And I think you mentioned as well that people can get their name in the book.
Yeah, it's a two-tier approach, really. If people pre-order before the 27th of October, they will get, if they wish, they'll get their name in a roll of honour, so it will appear in the book. They'll also get the book before anybody else, because as soon as it's printed, we'll post it out to them. I will sign it if they want me to sign it, and we can dedicate it to either the person buying it or a present or a friend. So if you do order early, you do get those benefits. But after that, it'll be out probably around about the first week in November at the latest, available for anyone to buy. Online is probably the best way. Great Christmas present. I've got to say that it is just the sort of thing I would, if I wasn't involved in it, I would buy it. Not cheap. It's £14, and the publisher said, that's the way of the world now. It seemed a lot of money to me, but they say they think it's reasonably priced. So I hope people do buy it. I hope they really, really enjoy it. I hope it prompts lots of good memories and questions as well. I mean, I'm perfectly happy for fans to come back to me and say, well, why didn't you mention this? Or worse still, you've got that wrong. But remember, these are the memories of a Mackem. Doesn't mean that they're all 100%, although I think they are.
Yeah. So just in terms of pre-ordering, where can people pre-order it from? What websites?
If you go to the publisher is Conquer Editions. That's Conquer as in Conker, and Editions Editions. So if you go to Conquer Editions website, there's a link there where you can order the book and say whether you want it signed, who you want to dedicate it to. Your name will go in the book. So that's the way to do it. I think the postage is about £2.50 or something like that. But yeah, I think I'm happy with it, pleased with it, and I hope other people are as well.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Perfect stocking filler as well. But just quickly, are you getting up to games this season and getting to see the lads?
Yeah, I've only missed one because I was on holiday. So despite all my travels, I never give up the season access card. Never giving up. So as I say, through thick and thin, like all of us. So all the more reason for enjoying the start we've had more than ever.
Yeah.
I think it'll last this time.
Yeah. Just a quick story on the season ticket books. We had Justin Moorhouse talking about the Manchester United game the other week, and he was giving us a memory about the Manchester United book where they used to do all of the games and the vouchers were all numbered, and there was no for reasons there was no game 13, but they would include the voucher in the book. So what kids used to do was game 18 used to always have the biggest crowd, because they turned the 3 into the 8 and finished that off, and everyone used to try and get into the game 18 for free using the voucher 13. But yeah.
I mentioned in the book that Sunderland were straightforward enough. Game 1 would be ticket 1, game 2 would be ticket 2. Leeds, so mean, they randomly changed the numbers, so you couldn't tear out a ticket and give it to a friend if you couldn't make it. Of course, you could give the entire season ticket to a friend. But they were so penny pinching that they made the numbers random.
Yeah, well, I think probably talk about stuff like this all day, but we really hope the book goes well, and I can't wait for it to come out, Bill. But it just leaves me to say thank you very much for the trip down memory lane. Really enjoyed it, and an absolute pleasure, Bill.
Thanks, Chris. It's been good. Thanks a lot.
Good stuff. And thanks again, everyone, for listening. Firstly, go out and buy Got Sunderland when it's released. Go out and pre-order it. It's out for pre-order now, and you get your name in it, which is fantastic. Perfect stocking filler as well for Christmas. But as well as that, look out for all the build-up this week ahead of our next fixture against Chelsea this weekend. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with another show on How We're the Podcast. But from us, Bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like running commentary with me, Rob Deering, and me, Paul Tonkinson. We're comedians and runners who chat while we run about running and life. Search for Running Commentary, Run Compod, wherever you get your podcasts. Yes.
Sports Social Podcast Network.